You know the sound of a house settling at 3 in the morning. Most people sleep right through it. They hear a creak in the floorboards or the hum of the refrigerator, and their brain just filters it out. It means safety. It means the world is turning exactly the way it's supposed to. I don't have that luxury anymore. I haven't had it for a long time. When the floorboards creak, I'm not in a 3-bedroom ranch in Ohio. I'm somewhere else. Somewhere the ground doesn't just settle. It shifts. It waits. I sit up. The sheets are cold. That's the first thing that hits you. It's not the fear, not immediately. It's the cold sweat. It sticks to your back like a second skin you can't peel off. The ceiling fan is spinning above me, a rhythmic, dull chop, chop, chop. I have to stare at it for a full minute. I have to force my lungs to take in air that doesn't smell like burning rubber or wet rot. I count the blades. 1, 2, 3, 4. I tell myself I am here. I am safe. The door is locked, but the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. My pulse is already hammering against my ribs, a frantic rhythm that has nothing to do with the quiet street outside. My wife is asleep next to me. She breathes deeply, rhythmically, peaceful. I look at her and I feel a distance that feels like miles, like oceans. She's right there, warm and alive, but I'm behind a glass wall. She can't see what I see. I hope she never does. I get out of bed. I have to move. If I stay still, the memories settle in like sediment in dirty water. I walk to the kitchen. The tile is cold under my feet. That sensation helps. It grounds me. I pour a glass of water, but I don't drink it. I just hold the glass. The condensation feels real. Wet. Cold. People ask you what it was like. They want the movie version. They want the noise, the adrenaline, the firefights that look choreographed. They want to know if you were a hero. They want to know if you were scared. They never ask about the silence. That's the part that actually breaks you. It's not the explosion, it's the waiting. It's the hours where nothing happens, and your mind starts to eat itself. There is a weight to that kind of silence. It presses down on your shoulders, it gets into your ears. It feels thick, like you're wading through water just to turn your head. Tonight, the kitchen feels like that. The silence isn't empty. It's full. I put the glass down. It makes a sharp clink on the granite counter. That sound takes me back. It wasn't a counter. It was a rock. My rifle barrel scraped against it. Just a small sound. A tiny metallic scratch in a valley that was supposed to be empty. We were on a standard patrol. Nothing special. Just walking lines on a map that nobody back home could pronounce. The terrain was rough, uneven. The kind of ground that hates ankles and knees. It had been raining for 3 days straight. Not a clean rain. This was a miserable, soaking drizzle that turned the dirt into a slurry that sucked at your boots with every step. We got separated. It happens faster than you think. 1 minute, you have eyes on the man ahead of you. You can see the outline of his pack, the rhythm of his walk. Then the fog rolls in deeper, or the terrain dips, or you stop for half a second to adjust a strap that's cutting into your shoulder. And then you look up, and there's nothing. Just gray. Just wet trees and rock. I didn't panic at first. Training kicks in. You check your azimuth. You check your comms. I keyed the radio. Static. Just a hiss. A white noise that sounded like the ocean, angry at the shore. I tried again. Red 2, this is Red 4. Radio check. Nothing. The silence swallowed my voice before it even left my mouth. I moved forward, thinking I'd just fallen a few yards behind. I pushed through a thicket of brush that tore at my sleeves. The thorns were sharp, catching on the fabric. I slid down a muddy embankment, my boots failing to find traction. I hit the bottom hard. My breath left me in a rush. I landed in a trench. It wasn't a built fortification. It wasn't something engineered. It was just a natural gash in the earth, a deep erosion line caused by the rain. It was about 4 feet deep, narrow, filled with about 6 inches of freezing, stagnant water. I tried to climb out, but the walls were slick mud. Every time I dug my fingers in, the earth just crumbled away. It was like trying to climb a wall of grease. Then the mortar started. It wasn't close, not yet, but I could hear the thump, thump, thump in the distance. Walking it in. Someone knew we were out there. Someone was searching. I slid back down into the water. I made myself small. I pulled my knees to my chest. This is where the isolation changes. It goes from being a logistical problem to a spiritual one. You are alone in a hole. The sky is a flat, uncaring gray. The rain is falling on you, soaking through your gear. finding the shivering skin underneath. You are holding a rifle that suddenly feels like a toy against the scale of the valley. I checked my perimeter. I could see the lip of the trench, weeds swaying in the wind. That was my whole world. A box of mud and gray sky. I sat there for what felt like hours. It might have been 20 minutes. Time stretches when you're waiting to die. It becomes elastic. You think about everything you've ever done wrong. You think about the letters you didn't write. You think about the phone call you ended too quickly because you wanted to go watch a game. The guilt comes then. It's not survivor's guilt yet. It's the guilt of existing. Why am I here? Why did I get separated? Why am I the one in the hole? The radio hissed again. A burst of static. I grabbed it. Desperation making my hands clumsy. Red 2? Red 2? Nothing. The silence returned, heavier than before. It's hard to explain the feeling of absolute abandonment. It's a physical coldness that starts in the stomach. You realize that the world is big, and you are very, very small. You realize that you could vanish into this mud and the rain would just keep falling. The weeds would keep growing. The war would keep grinding on. You wouldn't even be a statistic. You'd just be gone. I started to shiver, uncontrollable shaking. My teeth chattered and I bit down on my lip to stop the sound. Sound kills. I closed my eyes. I tried to picture home. I tried to picture the kitchen I'm standing in right now, but I couldn't see it. All I could see was the mud. All I could smell was the wet decay of the leaves. I felt the weight of the earth pressing in on the sides of the trench. It felt like a grave. I remember thinking that clearly. This is it. This is where I stay. I checked my magazine. I don't know why. It's just something to do with your hands. The metal was slick. The rounds were there. Brass and lead. Cold logic. If they came over the ridge, I had maybe 3 seconds. I'd get off a few shots, and then it would be over. I put the magazine back in. I slapped it home. The sound was too loud. I waited. The rain picked up. It drummed against my helmet. It ran down my neck. I started to lose the edge. That's the danger. The fatigue sets in. The adrenaline burns off and you're left with just exhaustion. You want to close your eyes. You want to just let go. You start to bargain with God or the universe or whatever is listening. Just let it be quick. Don't let me bleed out here alone. I wasn't asking to be saved anymore. I was past that. I was asking for mercy in the ending. I leaned my head back against the mud wall. The cold seeped through the helmet, through the skull, into the brain. I was done. I had accepted it. The surrender was a strange relief. No more fighting the slope. No more trying to fix the radio. Just waiting. The silence was total now. The mortars had stopped. The wind had died down. It was just me and the gray box of the sky. I closed my eyes. I took a breath. I prepared myself for the darkness. And that's when it happened. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't a scream. It was barely a whisper. But in that silence, it sounded like a thunderclap. Make room. That was it. 2 words. Gritted out through clenched teeth. I looked up, my neck stiff, my eyes adjusting to the gloom. A boot slid down the mud wall, uncontrolled. Then a leg. Then the rest of him. It was Miller. He hit the bottom of the trench with a wet thud that knocked the wind out of him. He didn't look like a soldier anymore. He looked like a pile of wet laundry. His gear was twisted. His helmet was gone. He groaned, a low, guttural sound that vibrated in the small space. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My throat was locked shut. I just scooted back, pushing myself deeper into the mud to give him space. He dragged himself upright. It took him a long time. Every movement was a negotiation with pain. I saw his hand press against his side. The dark stain on his uniform wasn't just rain. It was darker, thicker. The smell hit me then. Copper. Iron. That distinct metallic tang that you never forget. "You good?" he asked. His voice was raw, like he'd been swallowing gravel. "No," I whispered. "Me neither." He slumped against the wall next to me. Our shoulders touched. That contact changed everything. A minute ago, I was the only person on Earth. I was ready to let the mud take me. I was dissolving. But now there was heat. The shoulder of his jacket was soaked, cold against my arm, but underneath that, there was a living, breathing human being. The shivering didn't stop, but the panic receded. It pulled back just enough for me to breathe. We didn't exchange a heartfelt speech. We didn't talk about our families. We didn't promise to survive, that's in the movies. In the hole you don't waste oxygen on lies. We just sat there, shoulder to shoulder. Miller pulled a pack of cigarettes from a waterproof pocket. He tried to light one, but his hands were shaking so bad the lighter kept slipping. Click, click, click. He swore softly. He didn't get angry. He just sounded tired. I reached over. I took the lighter. My hands were shaking too, but together, we managed a flame. The light flared, blindingly bright in the gray afternoon. For a second I saw his face. He was pale. His eyes were glassy, staring at nothing. He looked 10 years older than he was yesterday. He took a drag. The cherry glowed. He exhaled a cloud of smoke that hung in the heavy air. "Thought you were gone," he said. He didn't look at me. "I was," I said. He passed the cigarette to me. I took it. The smoke burned my lungs, but it felt good. It felt like something other than the cold. We sat there for the rest of the night. The rain kept falling. The water in the trench rose an inch, then two. We were sitting in freezing soup. My legs were numb. I couldn't feel my toes anymore, but I could feel the pressure of his shoulder. Every time I started to drift, every time the darkness started to look welcoming, Miller would shift. He would cough. He would groan. And that sound pulled me back. It anchored me. I couldn't quit, not because I was brave, but because he was there. If I checked out, he would be alone, and I knew what that aloneness felt like. I couldn't do that to him. I became a watchman, not for the enemy, for him. I listened to his breathing. It was shallow, ragged. Sometimes it stopped for a few seconds, and my heart would seize up until he gasped again. In, out, in, out. I matched my breath to his. It became the only clock that mattered. The night lasted 100 years. The darkness was absolute. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. You just had to trust the tactile sensation of the guy next to you. I don't remember the sun coming up. I just remember the gray getting lighter, the shapes of the weeds returning, and then the sound of boots, crunching on gravel. Not rhythmic, not marching, searching. Red 2? Red 4? English. I tried to yell, but my voice was a croak. I tried to stand, but my legs didn't work. Miller didn't move. His head was tipped back against the mud. His eyes were closed. I shoved him. "Miller, Miller, wake up." He didn't answer. I grabbed his collar. I shook him. The panic came back, a hot wave. "Miller." His eyes cracked open. Just a slit. He looked at me, confused, like he didn't know who I was. "They're here," I rasped. He managed a weak nod. About time. When they pulled us out, the air felt too thin. The sky was too big. I felt exposed. I wanted to crawl back into the hole. They loaded Miller onto a litter. I watched them carry him up the slope. I stumbled behind them, supported by two guys whose names I don't remember. I looked back at the trench. Just once. It was just a ditch. A muddy scar in the ground. It looked insignificant, but it was the place where I died, and the place where I was born again. I'm back in my kitchen now. The glass of water is still in my hand. The condensation has pooled on the counter. Miller made it. He lost a kidney and part of his hearing, but he's alive. He lives in Texas now. We talk maybe twice a year. Short calls. We talk about football. We talk about the weather. We never talk about the trench. We don't have to. I put the glass down. I walk back to the bedroom. My wife is still sleeping. I slide back into bed, careful not to wake her. The sheets are warm now. I lay on my back and stare at the ceiling fan. Chop, chop, chop. The silence is still there. It's always there, waiting in the corners of the room. It's in the pause between heartbeats. It's in the look on a cashier's face when you zone out for a second too long. People think soldiers are strong because they can carry heavy packs or run toward gunfire. That's not it. Strength isn't physical. Strength is the ability to sit in the mud, in the freezing dark, while your mind screams at you to give up. And you stay. You stay because the guy next to you is staying. You hold the line, not because you hate what's in front of you, but because you love what's beside you. Sometimes at night when the house settles, I feel it again. The cold, the damp, the absolute loneliness. But then I remember the pressure on my shoulder. I remember that I wasn't alone, and neither are you. If you're staring at the ceiling tonight, if you're listening to the house settle, if you feel like you're in the trench and the rain won't stop, just reach out. We are everywhere. We are in the checkout line. We are in the office next door. We are driving the truck in the lane beside you. We are quietly holding the line. You don't have to say a word. Just know that we are here, and we're not leaving. Stand watch, respect the silence, and I'll see you on the next patrol.